Hey, everybody, welcome back to the Startup Sense podcast. This is your host, Jonah Lupton, and thank you so much for joining us for another great episode. So, I guess in terms of the intro, I'll say this. We have a great guy on the phone with us. We're going to chat with him in a second. It's Raymond Lau. He is the co founder of a company called Leapfin. The website is leapfin.com. And what they essentially are is the Salesforce for your financial data. We'll talk about that in a second. Company's based in San Francisco, approximately 10 people. They've raised 2.4 million so far from companies or from venture firms like Index and Bowery. That's pretty much all I got. So let's welcome Raymond to the show. Raymond, how are you, man?
Hey, I'm good. Thank you for having me.
Oh, you're very welcome. Thanks for taking the time to join us today. So tell us more about your company. What exactly does Leapfin do?
Yeah, so fundamentally, we believe that having accurate and real-time financial data is pretty much the foundation and requirement that drives pretty much every business decisions around a company. So ultimately, we're building the platform to enable you to have that, right? So we're kind of building the next generation ERP or next generation financial system for modern businesses, so that the executive and management team can have that accurate and real-time financial view of the business at any time.
Gotcha. And who are your ideal customers? I mean, obviously, this is a B2B platform, but is it the founders? Is it the CFOs, the accountants? Who's really looking at this financial data?
So we primarily sell to the finance organization. So typically the buyers will be CFOs, controllers, VP of finances, sometimes even finance managers, depending on the size of the business.
Awesome. Okay. And how are you guys finding your customers or clients? What has been your acquisition strategy for the last couple of years since you started?
Yeah, so primarily outbound sales, actually. So we have a sales team within the company and actively outbounding. And sometimes, we are starting getting a lot more referrals as well because of our customers love us, and they will refer other folks to us.
How long is the sales process?
It also depends on the size of the organization. For small, we kind of segment our customer base into three different segments. Kind of the startup or SMBs, mid-market, which is kind of our sweet spot at the moment, and enterprise. So SMBs could be any, less than 30 days, and mid-market companies typically take about 3 months, and then enterprise companies obviously would take a little longer, probably 6 to 9 months.
So who's the smallest company you work with? I mean, you don't have to tell us the name, but maybe just the number of employees or the revenue that they're doing, all the way up to maybe the biggest.
Sure. So our smallest smallest customer will be roughly doing about $1 million in annual revenue, and they roughly have about 15 people in terms of size. Our largest customer is A&E Networks. This is a television channel based in New York that owns History Channel, Lifetime, etc. So they are a $20 billion business. And I am not too sure how many employees they have, but I'm sure it's in the thousands or tens of thousands.
Yeah, I mean, and I see other customers that you guys have listed on your website, like Roxbox and Code Academy and Calendly. I actually use Calendly, love it.
We love them too.
So most of these customers you guys are finding through outbound sales. So if you have a 10-person company, how big is your sales team?
We sales team's about half.
Okay. And they're literally are they calling on warm leads, or is it mostly just cold calling businesses?
Yeah, so the primarily is actually just through emails because we find leads that we think that would be really beneficial or using our product, and so we kind of have an ideal customer profile of folks that we believe will be the perfect fit for us, and our SDRs obviously kind of just actively looking through the various channels to figure out who will be the best fit. And they essentially kind of just call outreach through the various campaigns that we have.
So now, whether one of your customers is a $1 million company or a $500 million company, is it essentially the same product that everyone's using?
Yep, that's exactly right.
Okay.
So the product is exactly the same, but the difference is that I would say the effort of implementation will be a little different. And the main reason being is because the core of the platform, right, is we bring in any data that may impact your financial in some way, so that we can essentially digitize your financial model within our platform. So for smaller businesses, they would typically use software that's more modern, and they use software that's more, I guess, that's, things like Stripe or Recurly or QuickBooks, et cetera. So we can bring in those data fairly easily. And for larger organizations, typically, they will have, because their business model is much more complex. And because their business model is more complex, they have a lot of data that sits outside of more of the traditional kind of SaaS solutions like Stripe, et cetera. They may have a lot of data that sits within their internal organization. So the effort of bringing those data in is a lot higher than comparing to a smaller organization.
Gotcha. So, I mean, what are some of the big financial metrics or KPIs that these companies are pulling into Leapfin and that they want to get a better look at, or they want to analyze better, or see in pie charts, or whatever it might be?
Right. So the number one problem that we actually solve for our customers is revenue recognition. So what that means is essentially being GAAP compliant, right? So essentially, what we're trying to do for our customers is that it's get their revenue numbers to GAAP compliance. So, when they get audited, or, when they have to present information, whether it's to the board or to investors, they have that accurate view of the financials. And that's the number one thing that we do.
Now, do you guys sell to, I know there's these part-time CFO groups, there's obviously, massive accounting firms and auditing firms. Do you guys work with any of them?
We do, actually. So we do partner with a couple of part-time CFO firms, and they use our product for their clients. So it's almost like a win-win-win situation, because we save we kind of for us, the part-time CFO is a great kind of lead generation tool for us to get clients, right? And for the part-time CFOs, they can work with more clients because now they have more time, in their days by leveraging our product. And also for the kind of the end client or customer themselves, we save costs for them. So we do work with quite a few.
So let's take a $10 million company, for instance. Before they use Leapfin, what are they doing before that? Is it just fragmented data all over the place?
You pretty much hit the nail on its head. So what we have found, 98% of the time when we go to market, usually the customer will be trying to do it in Excel at first. And generally, Excel, it just becomes super, error prone, it's very manual. And what happened is they are like, you know what, I just cannot deal with this anymore, because whether it becomes too complex, too error prone, or it becomes just way too much data point that Excel doesn't even load anymore for them. And what we have seen, that usually what happens is at that point in time, they would say, you know what, I need to borrow engineering resources in order to build something in-house so that it can kind of handle either the complexity or the volume side of the issue. So, but generally, what we have found is that a lot of our customers, that they try to do this in-house, but as building something in-house is very difficult, right? It's especially when it comes down to that you need both finance resources and engineering resources. And engineering resources, typically you want to leverage them to build that's value add, kind of functionalities or invest in the product. You don't want them to build it in-house. So what we have found a lot is that they try to do it in-house, but doesn't work out very well. So they, it's usually worked out a lot better when they buy us.
What is your pricing model? How much does a small company pay versus a big company?
Yeah, so it varies based on revenue and based on complexity. So it kind of ranges, we have both a monthly plan as well as kind of annual plan. So it kind of depends on the size of the company and the complexity. We actually kind of work with the customer to figure out what's the right price point for them. But generally, typically, for smaller organizations, less than 10K a year. For larger organizations, that could run anywhere from kind of mid 5 figures to 6 figures.
Gotcha. Okay. And now you guys have raised about 2.4 million from, the two names that you rattled off to me in the pre-call were Index and Bowery. Maybe talk to us. What was your fundraising strategy and how did you get in front of these firms?
Yeah, that's a great question. So previously, kind of give you a little bit of my personal background. I actually founded the company before. So my co-founder and I, we have known each other for like 15 years now. So I actually previously founded a company called Playhaven, which was a mobile advertising network. After Playhaven, I joined Zynga for a while to kind of manage finance operations, ops there, do financial planning. So a lot of the headaches that we see that we're trying to solve at Leapfin, I saw that both Zynga and our previous company.
Gotcha.
So after Zynga, I decided I was actually trying to build something in-house, like Leapfin within Zynga. And I just got so frustrated. It's like, you know what? I got to do this on my own. And Eric, my co-founder, experienced the same thing. So when we decided to do this, at first I was kind of just circling the kind of the idea around my former boss, who was David Koh. He was a former COO at Zynga, and he was literally the first person who's like, you know what, I support you. You go do this, and I want to put some money in to support you. And he introduced me to a lot of folks, and I personally also kind of knew a lot of folks from my previous venture. And I kind of just put together around, Bowery and Index got kind of, participating around what got introduced to me through that process.
This is Jonah Lupton, founder of Joule and host of the Startup Sense podcast. At Joule, we help entrepreneurs and startup founders build, launch, and grow their companies by providing superior technology, marketing, and consulting services. We help clients of all sizes, budgets, and industries. We put our clients in the best position to raise capital, grow revenues, hire employees, and maximize their profits. For more information or to set up a free consultation with our team, please visit our website at joule.net. That's JOOL.net. And where are you guys allocating most of that capital? I mean, I'm sure it's salaries and growth. Any other areas?
Pretty much. I would say, 80, 90% of it is all going to labor, which is primarily people. And that's, at seed stage, that's really kind of where most of the money goes. It's about investing in the people so that we can build a product and we can go to market with the product.
Right. And then you think the A round is more the growth round?
Right. So, the way I kind of personally think about it is that seed round is to prove the concept that, that your idea actually is going to work, right? So you will have some initial ideas around, like, what the unit economics is going to be, what is the product going to be, what's the pricing model, who you should be selling to. And the A round to me, like you said, is the growth round, which is now it's like what are all the kind of the key ingredients of making a business successful. So you kind of know the formula of what's a dollar in equal to dollar out, right? So, A round to me is about kind of stepping on the gas, fuel the growth, and kind of really take the product to market.
According to Crunchbase, it says you guys raised your last round in October of 2016. Does that sound right?
Yep, that's right.
Okay, so that's about 6-7 months ago. When do you think about raising your next round?
We don't really have any plan yet at the moment, but probably sometime this year.
Okay, and then maybe raise it sometime next year. You just obviously you want to get a head start on talking to investors, but it sounds like right now you guys are in good position.
That's right.
What have been some of the biggest challenges since you started the company?
Oh, great question. Honestly, I thought that starting kind of being this kind of second time around, I thought it would be a lot easier, but it's never easier. It's definitely never easier.
Problems.
It's just exactly right. It's different problems. I think that, being second time entrepreneur, what help is that, I kind of know how to deal with a lot of the issues now. But before the first time, you're just like, what do I do? But this time around, so you know how to deal with it, but it never gets any easier. So, I mean, we experience, I would say, pretty much like every other startup, at first it's all about finding product market fit, right? Like, can we build a product that customer want? And we have addressed that issue. We've solved that problem. And now is like, how do we go to market more efficiently? So we have kind of solved that problem as well. So, now we just have another set of challenges ahead of us, right? So I would say just different problem that comes up at different horizons at different times.
Now, I'm looking at your LinkedIn profile right now, and I see that you're a mentor for TechStars. Looks like you've been doing that for a couple of years. What's your favorite thing about being involved with that organization?
Yeah, so I was brought in from a good friend of mine who's a managing director at the TechStars in Detroit. And I mean, for me, it's the main reason why I wanted to participate when he asked me is I love working with entrepreneurs. And, to me, there's nothing more rewarding than kind of give them advice and help them kind of think through challenges at different point in time and how to address them, whether it's around the product or around fundraising. That to me is really just working with entrepreneurs. Like, the passion that they have is just super exciting.
Awesome. What were some of the things, in your previous company? You guys had an exit from that, right?
That's right.
Okay, right. Playhaven. I mean, what skills or traits or lessons learned did you, pick up from Playhaven that you were able to apply to Leapfin that made you a better founder and CEO?
That's a great question. I would say the number one lesson learned is the importance of focus, because focus, and not just you personally being focused, but also rally the entire team and organization on one singular focus, right? And I would say that's probably the most important thing. Maybe there are 2 to 3 things that you're always thinking about in the back of your head. And one of the biggest challenge also is once you start raising money, once you have money in the bank, you started thinking about, wow, these are some other opportunities that we can go after. But that's ultimately, what killed a lot of businesses and a lot of startups is the lack of focus. So I would say, the focus on solving one problem and do it really, really well, and so that you ensure your customers love you, that's the most important thing I took away.
Absolutely. Now, so your team's pretty lean right now, 10 people. Are you guys currently doing any hiring or recruiting?
Yeah, we're always looking for great people. Engineering and sales are kind of the top 2 that we're always looking for great people to join us. So I always said, I'm like, always be recruiting, it's probably the most important job of the CEO and founder.
Obviously you're in the startup capital of the world where there is a ton of great companies, a ton of capital. How do you guys find talent, in such a crowded pool of great startups?
This is kind of one of the most hotly debated topic, I would say. A lot of folks think that, and I don't disagree with them, which is they would say, starting a company in Silicon Valley is very, very, very hard because you have to pay 2x the amount that what you would normally pay in, say, in New York or in Austin or, or kind of or Detroit even, right? That's absolutely true. And the second debate is, people are not loyal in Silicon Valley because they will always kind of jump around to the next hot thing. I actually think that's false because Silicon Valley, you're absolutely right. It's very, very expensive, but it's also have the greatest density of talent anywhere in the world, specifically for technology, right? And it's kind of similar to if you want to do finance, you want to do investment banking, you go to New York. If you want to do acting, right, you want to participate in kind of that kind of art, you go to LA. Silicon Valley is the same way, which is this area has the greatest density of talent from engineering for enterprise sales, for enterprise marketing. It's just a very, very hard place to replace. And I would say that's kind of really number one advantage of Silicon Valley as well, outside of the expenses and all that kind of things. So to answer your question is that I think, when people said employees are not loyal, they kind of jump around, or they're just way too expensive. My opinion is that that's your own fault if you lose an employee because you're not hiring the right person, right? When we recruit people, we look for people that fit our culture, that want to do startup, that want to take the risk. I actually tell them during our interview process, we're not going to be able to pay you as much money as Google or Facebook would, or even Uber, right? And we're not going to be able to provide you with the kind of perks that, Google can provide you. We're just not. Like, if that's what you're looking for, if that's what you're looking for, you should go to them. You should go work for Google. And we have a lot of employees who turn down offers from Uber and Google and Facebook to join us because of things that we can promise them, which is, I'm going to promise you that you're going to have the greatest learning opportunity in your life. And you're going to take on more challenges that you will ever take on going to Google or going to Uber. and you're going to be working with some of the smartest people in the world, tackling a problem that's very, very significant. So, I don't experience the problems that a lot of people talk about, but I think the main reason is because when we go out recruit, we try to look for the right people for us.
Right. Yeah. I mean, if I was doing life all over again and I was going to go work for a startup in Silicon Valley, I'd want to join a smaller company where I felt like I could make a bigger impact on what they're doing. Because at the end of the day, at Google, you're just one of 20,000 employees. I mean, you're not going to make a significant impact.
Exactly.
I mean, Leapfin can offer a bigger upside, right? I assume early employees get a little bit of equity in the company.
Oh, absolutely. We're pretty generous with equity as well because it's my belief that, hey, they are taking on a big risk to join a smaller organization, right? And so we definitely want them to participate in upside. You're right there.
How do you figure that out? I mean, I've never really asked this to any guest before, but when it comes to stock options, what is it typically based on? Is it just how early they are in the company, their experience, what their specific role is going to be, the value they can bring? Like, how do you quantify what's fair in terms of stock?
That's an excellent question. So the short answer is the combination of all of that. And, so the way that we kind of look at it is equity is, the value that you bring to the business and the risk that you're willing to take. And so when we actually make offers to employees, we typically offer two packages. One is, we number one, we don't believe in paying lower than market salary because we think that's crazy. Like, especially in Silicon Valley, we understand how expensive rents are. We understand how high the cost of living is. And if you pay like way below market salary, it's just very, very hard to live, right? So, and our belief is that we don't want our employees to kind of worry about these kind of things. Like, they shouldn't be worried about are they going to be able to pay their rent, or are they going to have the ability to even buy groceries, right? I think that's crazy. So we actually fundamentally believe that we should be paying market salary, but when we make offers, we'll actually say, if you're willing to take a little bit of salary hit because you have personal savings and whatnot, we'll give you more equity because you're helping the company, to conserve cash, and you're willing to, take on, you're taking on more risk, right? So we actually typically give them two offers. And secondly, is that we do not believe in the idea that we'll give you one equity grant upfront and that's it, because I think that's ludicrous. Because you don't really, even though you can, interview the person, give them coding exercises, or you can do all the reference code in the world, you're truly not going to know how well that person is going to perform until he or she joins the company, right? So our belief is that if you perform well and the company cannot live without you, I'm going to continue to reward you, both on the salary and equity front, right? And that's actually probably the number one lesson learned I learned from my former boss, David Coe, as I mentioned earlier. He taught me that. He's like, if you have great people, you got to make sure that person is well taken care of. And we believe that from the equity front as well.
So it's still pretty early for your company, but I'm sure you guys have had plenty of highs and lows over the last couple of years. Do you have any favorite days or favorite moments so far at Leapfin?
That's a great question. Favorite days, there's been a lot. I would say when we close our first annual contract, that's a really incredible feeling, right? Because the day that we signed our very, very first customer, that was a really, really incredible feeling. And when we received that very first check, I still have that check. Actually, well, we deposited it because we need the cash. But we scanned it, we framed it because, it kind of symbolizes that, hey, there are customers out there who are willing to take cold hard cash for what we're building.
Now I would assume your clients are pretty sticky, right? I mean, once they begin working with you, once they get everything set up, all the feeds, I mean, they're going to stay with you for a long time.
That's actually the best kept secret of enterprise software, which is ERPs. So the category of software that we're building is, essentially ERPs, and which is essentially financial system or financial management softwares. And the reason why I said the best kept secret is because, like, customers never churn. Because once you get a system set up, we are your system of record for finance, right? And it's you relying on us for revenue information, for revenue data, for financial data. So you're exactly right. It's very, very sticky. We virtually have no churn.
So you must be willing to pay more for a customer just because the lifetime value is so much greater than if this was like consumer software, right?
Yeah, exactly right. We don't exactly know what the number is going to be just yet, simply because our company hasn't been around long enough to know what's the lifetime value of the customer yet. We can infer it, but you're right that we absolutely be willing to invest a lot more to acquire customers simply because we know they're going to be around with us for a long, long time.
Gotcha. What do you think the end game is for the company? I know this is always a hard question. I throw it out there because I'm always curious if I'm going to get any crazy answers. But I mean, 5 years from now, is Leapfin an independent company? Is it an IPO candidate? Is it, has it been acquired by someone else? I mean, your last company got acquired, so that's always a possibility.
Right.
Like, what do you think?
For us, we're in it for the long term. So Eric and I, when we founded the company, we talked about our long-term goal, kind of very, very upfront. For us, is that we've been there, kind of have a small exit with Playhaven, it's great, and we kind of been there and done that. So in our opinion, is that we're like, let's build this for the long term. Let's build this company that we're going to be working at for the next 40, 50 years, and that's going to have a long-lasting impact. And and this is the main reason why that we actually invested so much into the culture of the business, the core value of the business, because those are the things that if you screw it up front, it's very, very hard to fix. So, for us, I guess to answer your question, really is that, we want to build this for a long term. 4 or 5 years ago, whether it's an IPO or, whatever the liquidity event it is, to us is not really an exit. It's really about just the next milestone. So the way we think about it is we want to build a long-term business.
Cool. What else did you not get a chance to share today that you wanted to share with our audience?
Nothing at the moment, but
Okay.
if we could be helpful to kind of get your accurate financial data, definitely reach out to us.
Absolutely. Who is the typical contact person? Do you have a lead sales rep, or should they just go to the website and request a demo?
Yeah, that's typically the best way. We are very responsive, so just go to our website. We'll respond very, very quickly.
You guys do any? I mean, I know you mentioned a lot of your sales are driven by outbound efforts. What type of inbound marketing are you guys doing?
We're doing zero. So
Really?
That's actually one of the. Yep, we're actually doing it. We know that's actually one of the biggest holes that we have in the organization, which is marketing and demand generation.
Okay.
Main reason we are not doing it right now is simply because we don't have in-house expertise doing it. We do a little bit of kind of content, a little bit of demand gen. It's mostly sales driven, but yeah, we're not doing any. And that's one of the area that we're going to heavily invest in once we raise our Series A.
Yeah, right. That makes sense. Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Raymond. Really appreciate you taking the time to spend today with us, or 30 minutes or so. Do you use any social media, or what's the best way for our audience to connect with you or follow you?
Yeah, so I'm on LinkedIn, obviously. Twitter is just @Raymond_Lau, and those kind of where I'm most actively at. And thank you so much for having me, and this has been really, really fun.
Absolutely, man. I look forward to staying in touch with you.
Yep, absolutely. Have a good one.
Well, talk soon. Take care.